Tonight on the live stream of consciousness, I'll be talking to Jesse Hal from the Missing Link podcast. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. You have made it again. It is Thursday night, that means, and we are live in another amazing conversation with another amazing person, and we're going to find out all about that wonderful guest I have tonight in just a minute. I just want to say the live stream of consciousness is a place where we have intentional conversations. We talk about what consciousness is. We talk about spirituality, but it's also a place for me to create space for these amazing people to share what it is they're sharing with the world. So I'm not going to take up a lot of time with myself. I hope everyone had a good holiday. It was a little weird not broadcasting on a Thursday, but I figured everyone was going to be with their family. So I hope everyone had a good little break. We are back. And I am going to bring on my next guest. He has a great podcast called The Missing Link. I don't even know how I found it. It just started showing up in my feed. And, you know, I love this kind of stuff. I've been doing this about a year and a half, and the platform is just an amazing place to share knowledge and share views. And The Missing Link does just that. So I'm going to talk about what that is and everything with Jesse Hal, the host of the Missing Link podcast. Welcome to the podcast, my show.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. A little bit tired. We had 2 interviews today. We had 3 interviews yesterday, and we were supposed to have 1 interview the day before, but for the first time, he didn't show up, and I didn't hear from him, didn't show up.
Wow.
So we ended up playing a replay of the Dr. Jane interview, and
yeah.
And it was crazy because he didn't show up, and I waited. I just put the interview on, Dr. Jane Ruby, and there was over 100 live people watching it, and it went
That's
just
awesome.
like, it was just amazing. And you know, I was like, wow, maybe we got to play a little bit more replays, because usually we've been doing so much interviews that we don't really have time for any replays, but we've done 359 interviews in the year and a half that we've been
You're
doing
a madman. I tuned into Facebook earlier tonight, and I see you, and it says live, and I'm like, wait a second, he's doing my show tonight, and he's interviewing somebody. Man, you're on fire, Jesse. It's really awesome to see. I definitely find it inspirational what you're doing, which is why I reached out and I had to have you on the show and talk to you and find out all about you, and create some space for you here as well, and maybe find out some secrets to how you're doing so well. Because I think the live stream is similar conceptually, especially when I did a little digging into who you were and where the missing link came from, which was really interesting to me. But I'm going to get into the missing link in just a minute and what you're doing and create that space for you. But I do have to initiate you here on the live stream of consciousness with just a couple of questions, and I'm really curious to hear your answer, because I know we're on the same page in a lot of ways, and we've got a very similar mission. But the question is, what is consciousness? What does that mean to you, Jesse?
A consciousness is the love that binds us all together, and you know, everybody is connected to this, like Christ consciousness. It's the consciousness of love, and I think that's our soul, you know, is connected, and it connects us all together. And I think we're all connected here as one, and it's only you that can separate yourself from yourself. And they've been doing that with all their engineered movements and things and groups and labels. I'm this and you're that, and I'm this, and it's you know, it separates us from ourselves. And I think consciousness is the love that connects us, you know, together.
I love that answer, man. I really do. That is great. And I have somebody here, Stream Lakshmanan. Stream Lakshmanan seems like somebody that you might have brought here, asking me if I believe in God, and I will answer that question, and I'm going to say I believe in what Jesse just said. I believe that God is that love consciousness that Jesse is talking about, and that we're all a part of. And I won't go any further than that, but that is a good question, and that's what we're here for, and that's a great answer. And then the second question is, I know you've been doing the missing link for about a year. Amazing. What episode are you on now? 800.
We just done
Oh, 300. Yeah,
359
yeah,
in
yeah.
the last 18 months.
That's amazing. That's so phenomenal and so inspirational. And like you said, you had 3 yesterday and 2 today.
Yeah. So
That's
yesterday
amazing.
we interviewed Lieutenant Stephen Rogers. I used to be in the U.S. military, and then he
Awesome.
became a police lieutenant, and then he went back and he was military intelligence. So I kind of hammered him a little bit because I'm not the biggest fan of the military and what
Right.
they done. So he definitely felt it a little harder than most of my guests. So it was a really good interview and a really
Yeah.
good guy. He
Is
still
he like a whistleblower of some sort, or is he to have some information he's sharing? Like, I know that's kind of usually what you're doing on your show. So
No,
what
he's just
prompted
a
you to have
he's
him?
a podcaster
Okay.
who's, he's taken his military career and just, he connects with a lot of people. He does his weekly podcasts and stuff. So
Mhm,
I didn't actually know too much about him. And,
mhm.
the funny thing is, out of the 359 interviews, probably at least 300 people, because there's a bunch of people we've interviewed more than once.
Right.
But so over 300 people, 90%, maybe 95%, I didn't even know who they were before I've interviewed them. It's just people saying, hey, interview this person, or hey, you should interview this person.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
or someone sends me a video and I'm like, wow, I like what they're saying. So then I
Yeah.
try to find their contact information and then reach out. And I probably got about 1,000 invites out there for the missing link. And
That's
we're
awesome.
fully booked for all of December. We're fully booked for all of January, and we're already starting to book into February right now. So it's kind of taken a life of its own.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think this platform has really become something special, especially with what you're doing with it, and I think what the live stream of consciousness is. I see we've got a fan out there, Angeline Joy. I know who that is. She's saying, "Love you, Jesse Hal." Uh, but I do have to ask you another question before we get into all of that stuff, and that is kind of about your moment, if there is one. It may have been from a little kid, but I want to kind of know, like, what was the point where you decided that your belief system was that what we've been taught is not everything, and that there's something beyond that, whether it be a spiritual realm, spirit realms, or aliens, or whatever. What was that moment for you?
I think you got it right when you said, when I was a little kid. Um, I remember watching on TV, and they were showing commercials of the people that were starving in Africa,
Mhm,
and they had their ribs hanging out, and they were just these people with no food, and they were asking people for money. And I thought that was so weird because we had so much food in our fridge. We had so much food, we threw out our extra food
mhm,
when there's people on the other side of the world that don't have any food at all. And
mhm,
I just knew that there was something wrong in the world. And
mhm,
I've been on a quest to figure that out. For the longest time, I wanted to cure world hunger, and the longest time I wanted to become Prime Minister of Canada, so that way I could, give back to the people and, create food systems where we had an abundance, where we could feed the world, because
mhm,
I think this is all possible. It's
mhm,
just we have enough for everybody's need. We just don't have enough for everybody's greed. And that's the big
mhm,
problem
mhm,
that we
mhm,
all face.
mhm. That's an amazing answer, and really, I guess, even as a young kid, to make that connection and see that there's something wrong with the world, that, you know, you are living in a place where you're throwing out food in your refrigerator and you're comfortable, and maybe you don't even realize how comfortable you are until you see that on TV, and then you're like, wow, you know, I'm comfortable. And then I guess some sort of light turned on in your heart where you were like, okay, you know, everybody should be this comfortable, and you know, it should be a way for everybody to live like that. That's great. I love that answer. I kind of feel the same way. I feel like from a young kid, I kind of knew, like, you know, I would have odd thoughts about humans being alien chimpanzee hybrids, and, you know, different thoughts that were not what I was being taught in school, and made more sense to me than what I was being taught in school. Um, so that actually is a great segue that will bring me to the missing link, and what it is you're doing, and I do want to talk about where it came from, because I found it very interesting as I did some digging into you and where you come from. Because the missing link is almost, I would say it's a podcast that talks about truth and critical thinking and conspiracy theories. You know, I think it addresses a lot of things that were considered conspiracy theories. Originally, when I started following you, a lot of the guests were more spiritual, like psychic mediums and kind of spiritual. And I think that's where I resonated with you. I was like, oh, this guy, you know, he gets it. He talks to these cool people. And then I started seeing that kind of content, and it made sense to me. You know what I mean? I kind of, you know, I don't outwardly kind of always necessarily talk about that stuff, because I feel like it carries a little bit of a negative energy. And one thing I know we're on the same page is that everything is energy, right? And how important understanding energy is, and your control of energy. And that's why I think I started the live stream of consciousness, and wanted to have these conversations. But I do find the conversations, even though sometimes they do carry this kind of negative energy, and I hope people are understanding, and I know people who watch your show are understanding that the negative energy is not you. The negative energy is what's going on in the world, and like you said, the all of the layers and centuries of the way it's been, and leading up to the way it is. You know, I try to be very vague with my words and not very specific. I know also that you're very open-minded with your guests. You know, you have guests who have sometimes maybe controversial thoughts and beliefs that they're bringing to the table, and you just want to hear them. You just want to explore them. And again, that's where I think I resonated with you. You know, just really wanting to find out about, connect with other people, you know, no matter what. And even though I started out with spirituality, I started realizing I had a theologist on my show who's very, very devout, follows Jesus, and you know, not the things that I follow, but I see the similarity in the way he lives his life in love, and believing that Jesus is love, and, you know, not necessarily some of the more corrupt versions of organized religion. But, you know, there are people who follow Jesus, and in that very pure way, that Jesus is love, right? And I think you're religious also, if I remember, and some of my digging. No, or I know you,
Oh,
well,
absolutely. The religion disgusts me. I am
well,
very
not
spiritual, and
right.
I love Jesus. I love the different people that have come here to Earth to teach love, to show
Mhm,
that you don't have to be afraid. You can have a connection to the Creator without having any organized religion that you have to pay money to
mhm,
have that creation, or like in Catholicism, you could be a dirtbag all week long, and then
mhm.
you just got to go to church on Sunday, say a
Right,
few Hail Marys, pay a little bit of money, and then you can continue being a dirtbag all week long, and then
right,
go to church, pay a little bit of money, say a few Hail Marys. Like, that stuff disgusts me,
right,
and
right.
so most religions disgust me.
I guess
And
I guess what I say, and you actually, again, this is what I love about these conversations. You're kind of making me look about at the way I see things. To me, Christ is a religious figure. So I know that you believe in Christ, and I do believe Christ is love. I believe Christ is a representation of love. I believe Christ was a real person who represented love. Uh, and all of those things. So I didn't mean to say that you were religious, but I guess it was the Christ thing that I tripped up on there a little bit.
Yeah,
So
so that's the religion thing is, they've taken, religion was supposed to be a beautiful thing, and they've made it into a business. They made it to hide, their wealth. Made it to wait for them to be able to create roads. And I was just thinking about this the other day, and it's like the Catholic religion used their religion to build cities, to build roads, to expand their empire, their kingdom
mhm,
through this religious, with their religious
mhm,
protections or
mhm,
religious freedoms. But I was just thinking of, like, as Sim City, or when you're building these worlds, and you're just creating new bridges and new pathways. What That's what religion did, and it
mhm,
kind of encompassed the earth
mhm,
through the Catholic bridge.
mhm, mhm,
And they used God to do it, and
mhm,
then they make people afraid to not follow their rules,
mhm.
and then scare them that God, or our creator, won't love them if
Right.
they don't follow their rules. And that's very disgusting, and
Mhm.
that's the exact opposite of what creation is about.
Right. For sure. For sure. Yeah. And I don't want to get you worked up about religion, but I do. That's the thing. I agree with you 1,000,000%. Organized religion. The thing about organized religion here that is different than what you and I believe is when we say we're all connected, and there's one collective consciousness, is organized religion immediately separates you from God. Like God is a different being who's judging you, and who is more powerful than you, and kind of taking away your power. Exactly what you're saying. That's what organized religion does. It takes away your power and makes you separate. um but again, I want to give you kudos for what you're doing, and the way that you talk to people, and the space that you give them, and the interest that you show them in what they're about. What I'm curious about is this, and maybe I'm going here too fast, and that is in digging and looking where you came from. I saw probably about 2 years ago you found live streaming, right? And you started going live, it seems. Tell me if I'm wrong. And I found a lot of streams of you just kind of dancing, and the High Vibe Love Tribe was the name of I guess what you were doing at the time, or I'm sure it still exists. Something that you created. I believe you created it. And it was interesting to me because I'm like, wow, now there's kind of like, when you talk about some of the controversial things you talk about, there is this heaviness to it. I mean, it's almost like, wow, the world is a lot of stuff going on, and we got to really start paying attention. Whereas initially you were just like, be love. You do a lot of this, which is, I love this. This is like a holy sacred pose. You know what I mean? And I find myself, when I meditate, I fall into that position naturally. um but how did you go from that to where you are now? Like, I mean, you're pretty serious, and in a good way. I mean, you want to share this knowledge, you want people to think, which is what's so important. I mean, the mainstream media just wants you not to think, and it's so beyond obvious to people like you and me who have these kinds of shows where we want to have these conversations. I before you answer that question, I just want to I have to acknowledge Stream Lakshmanan. He's asking me about where I was born,
She.
what my oh, she
Yeah.
asking me about where I was born. I would love to talk to you about all that stuff. This is my chance to give Jesse some space. He's always interviewing everybody. I will say I was born Jewish. I was bar mitzvahed, and then at that point I was given the choice. If I wanted to continue my religious studies or not, and I felt like I didn't resonate with the organized religion. I didn't feel like a being that was all powerful would have any expectation of me to gather in a place and give him praise. Like it just didn't make sense to me. So that's all I'll say about myself and my religion and Stream. If you want to talk, message me. I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. You are saying some things here too about organized religion not bad, it brings people together. Yes, I agree with organized religion. There are some things about organized religion that I think are good, and I think that people do need to believe in things, and sometimes organized religion is a way for them to kind of believe some of these basic things. If you follow organized religion in a way of love, kind of not what Jesse was talking about, where you're a jerk all week and then you just go pray to, like, say you're a good Christian, that's not really being true. But if you live out of love, and I know a lot of people who are religious who do, yeah, that's a good thing about religion. Evil tries to flourish by separating people through manipulation. They fear, they control, and I think that's a little bit about the mainstream media that we were talking about. But anyway, I didn't want to I don't want to take away from you again.
All
So
good. And
let's
I
get
want
back
to
to you.
explain that as well. So,
Yeah, cool.
organized religion, for people that like organized religion, that get benefit out of organized religion, that makes them a better person, good for them.
Hmm.
From what I see, from my perspective of the overall of what's happened with organized religion and how they manipulate people, the ones at the top, not the people, the good people that go there, good
Hmm.
for them. There's a lot of beautiful people. There's a lot of good Christians that go to church. There's a lot of good Muslims that go to church.
Hmm.
There's a lot of good, every religion that goes to church, there's a lot of good people. There's only a small percentage of scumbags, and
Hmm.
most of the scumbags are the ones in powerful positions. And so then you'll have people in these religious places, and even just in like a group, like a prayer Bible study. Like, I've never been into organized religion. I've never really gone there. I was born a Catholic. I was baptized, but my parents never really took me to church. I went to once in a while, we went on Easter or on
Hmm.
Christmas just for that day. I never went to Bible school. I never got my first communion. So I don't know much about any of that, of the, organized religion part. But for most people are good people. And, if they find their comfort in that, good for them. I'm not here to tell anybody that that's bad that they're doing that. It's just what has happened with the people in control, like the people in Bible studies. Now, they all of a sudden they start molesting people because they say God told me to do that, and then the person is, and these are like, people have told me this stuff that's
Yeah,
happened to them,
crazy.
that they have power over these church people, and they're at a position of power, and they're saying, no, yeah, God told me you need to touch me right now. And it's just like they've used
It's crazy.
religion because of the position of power and the position of fear, what they put people into. And that's the one thing that I don't like about the religion, is the fear part of it,
Right.
because instead of they're saying, I love God, I fear God. I'm a
Mhm.
God fearing man. I'm not
Right.
a God fearing man at all. I'm a
Right.
God loving man. I,
Right.
I don't
Exactly.
fear. I don't fear beauty. I
Right.
don't fear love. I don't fear creation.
Right.
And so I think that's what manipulates people. And that's why I have my own personal. But for anybody that likes it and enjoys it and gets benefit out of it and feels good about it, good for you. I'm not here to
Right.
tell anybody what they're doing is wrong,
Right.
because that's not my job here, because everybody has their own, you know, ability, their own right to think, believe,
Yep.
worship, whatever they want. I'm not here to tell anybody that, what they're doing is wrong, as long as they aren't actively hurting people, the environment, or animals.
Right. Exactly. No, that's great, and that's what it should be. That's and like you said, it's just so. Anyway, let's get back to the question, which was,
Okay,
what
I
took
got
you
it.
from such a loving, dancing, move your energy around guy to, like, diving into what you dive into.
So we'll rewind the clock back, and like when I was 18 and I hung out, like I was out of my house at an early age, and they I got kind of adopted by lots of rough and tough people in the streets, and kind of showing me how to make money and take care of myself. I was bullied as a kid, and once I learned how powerful I wasn't bullied anymore.
Mhm.
And then it got into the kind of the drugs and the alcohol, but I always had this mission that I wanted to help, and so I was trying to organize these people to take over the government and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this was 30 years ago. This is when I
Wow.
was like 18, 19 years old. I'd have these little meetings with all these like really rough and tough people. I'm like, we
Wow.
have to do something about what's going on. But kind of got caught away, and like, I got paid to, party for many years of my life. I did lots of bar promotions. I lived in Cancun where I took people
Mhm.
VIP to the nightclubs. I
Oh,
like got
nice.
paid to get drunk and
Right,
party.
right, right, right.
Like, so many years, my life has just been like a fun, like wild time. So
Blur.
it's
Yeah.
hard to, yeah, a lot of it's a blur. And so it's hard to want to save the world when you're caught up in drugs and alcohol.
Sure, sure, sure.
And, but I always had the mission, always researching, always learning, always studying, always talking to people about what was going on. And then, comes social media and the Facebook world. And then all of a sudden, wow, all the information. And I start connecting with people and I start
Mhm.
sharing information. And so, but I didn't want to overburden people with all the information of a lot of the horrific stuff that happens in the world. So I
Mhm.
would post a lot of funny things, a lot of cute things, and then something conspiracy or something wild,
Right,
something
right.
funny, something cute, something conspiracy. So I just kept a big mix so I didn't really overburden people that, that's crazy Jesse. That's,
Right, right, right.
he's the conspiracy Jesse guy, right? So, and I did that for like 13 straight years, and
Wow.
more connected with people and, bigger groups, and just, found more like-minded people, learned a lot more of what was going on. And then comes 2016 election. And
Mhm.
I knew how horrifically evil Hillary and her whole, little posse is.
Mhm.
And so I spent every single day for months and months and months before the election writing deep. I would go and I'd smoke a joint and I'd write something deep about her and about, find something, some information that I wanted to share. I wrote a good paragraph or two, something really eloquently written. I'm really good with writing skills, like,
Mhm.
putting words together. I'd write something and then I started sharing it to every single political post and page that I had seen.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was sharing it to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pages a night. I
And,
had
like,
literally
on all the
people,
platforms, Twitter and
anybody would
yeah.
post something political, I would put it into the comments. Anybody would share
Oh,
like
wow.
USA Today, I'd put it into the comments. Anybody would
Right.
share whatever, anything that had to do with politics,
Mhm.
I copied and pasted that night's writing. And I did that every single night for the entire election. And, I had people say, like, how many times have you copied and pasted this thing? This is like the fifth time I've seen it. And I'm like, I don't know. I've lost count after, I didn't count,
Right.
but, I didn't
Right,
know
right, right.
after 30, 40,
No, you were
50 times.
determined. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was determined to show
Mhm.
people how horrifically evil they are.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I watched The Apprentice. Always just heard good things about Donald Trump. I had faith that he was going to be doing some good things. He was exposing, fake media. He talked about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, and so I was pretty much in alignment. And I was sure hoping he was going to win over that evil hag. That's for sure. And so I did everything I could in my power to share, and I shared and I shared and I shared and I shared every single night.
Okay.
So then he wins the election and all these things happen. I start doing some live streams maybe 5 years ago. I had a friend that she wanted to do live streams about different topics. Her name is Melissa Sterling. She has 45 topics when it comes to like love, equanimity,
Mhm.
joy, patience, all these different subjects about things. There's 45 topics and she teaches this kind of course.
Okay.
So she never really done a live stream, and I had done some live streams here and there, going on people's shows, talking about stuff, just because I'm very knowledgeable about a lot of things. So I would be guest shows on, just talking on people and stuff. And so she asked me if I would go live with her for 45 days straight and do on different topics. So there's me. Every single topic she gave me, I wrote out in detail all these, what the definition was,
Right.
different quotes and poems and all these kind of things to make it great. So we went and did the 45-day topics live streaming for an hour a night for 45 straight days, and then we did it again. So we did 90 straight
Wow.
days of an hour, and we just repeat. I didn't have to do it the second time because I had my notes of my first 45
Right.
days of the topic. So we went 90 days straight, got her comfortable doing live streaming, got her having someone accountable, knowing that someone's going to be there. You got to be there every night. It's just, when you hold someone to account like that, it's easier to not show up when someone's there for you. So we did that. I ended up after that, I ended up going to Thailand. I was going for a 65-day trip. It was supposed to be 30 days in Thailand, 35 days in Australia. Day 5 of 65, I broke my foot. I crashed a motorbike through a lawyer's office window, and I broke my heel in 2 places in Koh Phangan, which is Full Moon Party Island.
Holy crap.
And so I was stuck in Thailand because I ended up getting thrombosis. So I ended up being almost 3 months in Thailand. I had a beachfront villa where they sold joints, and it was pretty cool place
Horrible to be stuck in Thailand.
to be stuck in this little cafe where nowhere else really on the island sells weed because it was really illegal there at the time.
Right.
And so these ones were owned by the police, and they were owned by the police, and so it was legal to have it like in that facility, and that's where I couldn't really go much place except for the hospital. I had to take a boat to Koh Samui. That was the main hospital on different islands, so they had a jet boat that transported me over the ocean, and that was my big adventure, whatever. So I was there for almost 3 months until my levels of whatever, so my blood was clotted, and my levels became stable, and then I went to Australia for 5 days, and then I came back to Canada. But during that time, I was doing live streams. I was live streaming the food people. I remember one guy, this Canadian guy from Montreal, he picked me up on a scooter, and there's me with my crutches, my broken foot, and I'm live streaming on on Facebook Live, showing people holding on with my crutches, my hand, and my phone. And I remember my very first live stream when I broke my foot. They gave me a bunch of morphine, and they were taking me on a jet boat over to the Big Island because of the severity of my break on my foot. And I'm doing a live stream while I'm on the hospital ambulance boat going from one island, all high on morphine. And I'm talking about the government and the world and how we have to come together to stop them. So this was my live stream that I had to while I was pretty high, was talking again about the government, talking about things that I've been talking about for 30 plus years, and especially 13 straight years at that time on Facebook.
Right.
And so come fast forward to 2020, when
this is all pre-high vibe love.
This is all pre-high vibe love tribe. This is all stuff that I did. And I was on guests on people's shows talking about things. So it wasn't like that. That wasn't the start of the live streaming. So this is, I've been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years. I don't even know how long it's been.
I didn't see that stuff when I was digging. So this is good.
Well, my profile of 13 years. So I'll get to that. And so at the beginning of 2020, when the lockdown first happened, or not the lockdown, when the people started dropping in the streets, my first thing was that they lit up the 5G, and that they're going to blame it on this virus, and so that was my first thought of what happened. That was my public post. That was just this is what I think is happening, and that's why the people dropped. And then all the stuff started, craziness started happening, people being scared and this and afraid and having to wear masks and all this kind of crazy stuff that started happening. And there was a day on, I believe it was April 8th, and it was, so now from February, March, April, 3 months of kind of craziness. And then there was a Meditate for the Earth Day with David Wilcock. And, so I was great. I was promoting it. Let's all meditate for the earth. I'm in alignment with that, and all of a sudden, he's on live and he was with his wife and they're ringing their Tibetan singing bowls. And I had my Tibetan singing bowl. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go live with them. I'm going to play my Tibetan singing bowl, but not with them, but on my own live
Right,
stream,
right, sure.
but showing the video of them and like,
Right, right,
and
right.
so all of a sudden I turned it on, started ringing the bowl, and all of a sudden there was 10, 15, 20, 25, 28, 30 people like
Wow.
all there on my live. And I was just like, because I wasn't really going live for myself or anything. I was, joining on these shows besides helping Melissa. Like
Right.
wasn't really going live just to go live. Hey, talk about the world.
Yeah, but you
I'd
were
rather
literally raising the vibration, you literally were.
raising the
You know?
vibration.
Yeah.
And so ringing the bowl had all these people and everybody's like, oh, you should do this tomorrow, you should do this tomorrow. And I was like, okay. So and then I just turned on the live, did it again. And then so it started off with I would I'd smoke a joint, and then I would turn on the live, I'd put on some techno music, and then I would just dance. And at first I wasn't in the best of shape, so we started dancing for 10 or 15 minutes. And then after the 10 or 15 minutes, I'd put on a guided meditation, and then some healing frequencies, then some Tibetan singing bowl, and I'd end off with the bongo drum. And I just entertain people for this time to literally raise the vibration.
Right.
So at the time when they want everybody afraid, we're making people love and in a good,
That's
safe
awesome.
place and a
I
safe
wish I had seen you
space.
back then. I would have really appreciated it. It was such a divisive place, social media at that time,
And during the time, like I literally had people tell us, like, you literally saved my life with this
That's
high
awesome.
vibe love tribe. Like there
Wow.
was a guy that I, used to go on, we played hockey together as kids. He told me that, from the time that he was 5 to the 15, he had been sexually molested 10 different
Wow.
times, and he had forgot about that. And then 20 years later started to remember, and he was angry, he was full of rage, he couldn't be around his wife and kids, he lost his job. And he said for the first time in years, when he started hearing my Tibetan singing bowl, it just brought him to a place of peace.
That's
And
so
it,
cool.
like the stuff is like happening, all these people saying like, wow, this is like, helping us, and I'm having the best sleeps. And then Angeline, my girlfriend, she would come to the high vibe love tribe. So we started talking and we started chatting. That's how we kind of got together. And then later on, she started joining me on the high vibe love tribe. So we'd be dancing together.
So
And then even her daughter would come, and we would we'd ring our Tibetan singing bowls together. So we did this 7 days a week for 11 straight months of the first year of the lockdown. So it went from April 8th, 11 straight months, 7 days a week. There was only 4 days in 11 months that we didn't go live. And that was because we were, camping, and there was no connection to the internet. We were on a road trip. There was only 4 days that we couldn't go live, but we were there. We committed for 7 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern time, 7 days a week for people. And is like service to humanity. There's nothing, there wasn't anything that was, we weren't selling anything, we weren't getting anything. This was just completely just as what we thought. So for me, because I was pounding so much conspiracy, so much information about the world for 13 straight years, I wanted to pivot. I didn't want, when everybody's afraid, what am I going to tell them how evil these people are? I'm going to tell them how they, how they do this adrenochrome, and they're eating kids, and I don't want to make people more afraid. So instead of that, completely left the conspiracy, completely left all of that. The high vibe love tribe, that was one of the rules. No virus, no C thing, nothing you could talk about during this time. It was a place of peace, a place of love. You got all these pages, you got anywhere else you can talk about whatever. Everybody's sharing all this information, but that was one of the rules for the high vibe love tribe, was that you could not, talk anything about, evil, horrific, the virus, any of that kind of stuff was against the rules for talking about it.
Amazing intention. It was a very intentional place.
Safe space for people to come, safe space for people to be able to come to, this high vibe love tribe. So it worked. We did great. 11 straight months, but during that time, like at one point we had 3,400 live views just on Facebook.
Wow.
It was going crazy before they really
All at
started
one time, they
censoring.
were watching the live stream.
Yeah, so the
That's
number
amazing.
wasn't 3,400, but we were on for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. When I
Right,
shut the thing off, 3,400 people had clicked on at one point or another and
Wow.
watched it. That was the highest number. I
Amazing.
think it's 3,427 or something like that.
That's
And
great.
then more of the censorship came down and started clamping down on sharing on Facebook. You couldn't share things. You could be restricted. You're getting put into jails for sharing and all this kind of.
Right.
That's when all this kind of stuff happened. Like when I was sharing that stuff about the for the 2016 election, there
Mhm.
was no restrictions. I shared to 60 pages. I shared to
Wow.
150 pages.
Right.
There was nothing restricted at that time. But because of people like me that was sharing this information about the agenda to hundreds of pages, like where people like we're talking USA Today, we're talking New York
Wow.
Times, we're talking all these in the comments where lots of people are looking at this stuff. They didn't want to have that. They couldn't have people their minds being opened and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So while I was doing the High Vibe Love Tribe, I was asked to host a program called the Truther Telethon that they wanted to put together. And I was like, and they said they wanted to get, they wanted to get a whole bunch of truth speaking podcasters on one program, on one event, on one time. And they asked if I could be the MC and the host or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I'm up for anything, even though I'm doing the High Vibe Love Tribe and about the love. But because I was doing that and hosting and having such a good rapport with people, I was asked to be the host of this, program about the world and the conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm 100%.
It's kind of became a platform for you, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% anything to increase, the awareness about what's going on in the world. I was like 100% I'm in to do that. And so a couple weeks later, after I agreed, the date was supposed to be in like 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
The person that was supposed to be putting it on with a couple other people called me bawling her eyes. It's not gonna happen. They want to sell stuff, and we're not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. So I put all this work and just panicking and freaking out. And I said, you know what? I said, let's just put it on. Me and you will do it. I go, me and you can put this thing on. I go, I know lots of people, some people, let's just do this thing. And then the next day, she had found another person. He was in kind of a network marketer who was going to do the StreamYard and the back end and put it on. And then all of a sudden I started contacting these people. She was contacting these people. We got 26 people to come on our first truth. It's the first one. They were going to call it the Truther Telethon. We called it the Truth Telethon. It was me and her that put this thing on together. There was nothing, the thing was dead. So out of fresh thing, me and her, I said, I'm in. I'll make sure this happens, because usually when I put my mind to something, I can make it happen. It's just one of those things. I have the belief, and it just things happen. So we put this thing on. I was the MC and the host, and it was wild. We went for 12 straight hours.
Wow.
And I was, introducing the person. Sometimes they wanted to do a dialogue with me. Sometimes it was just them doing a monologue. Sometimes people didn't show up. So I had to talk about the world and about the chemtrails and about things. I didn't even know that I didn't prepare nothing, but because I've been researching this stuff for so many years, it was just really easy for me just to flow. And once I get talking, I can get talking, right? Especially
you're a great interviewer, and I think that's part of the success of the show. I just want to acknowledge a couple of things that are going on in the chat. When you're talking about the Tibetan bowls, Specifically, I know for me, the first time I ever experienced that was just magical. You feel like the sound is coming from inside of you. It's such an amazing experience, the Tibetan bowls. And you were talking about that, and Julie was saying the bowls create some amazing vibrations. And you were talking about this event you did, and she said at the time, she said, "That sounds awesome. Can you do it again?" So you have a request for doing another live Tibetan bowls session. And I also noticed somebody, who was it? Where was it? It was Joseph, was asking you to show your long hair, and I was surprised when I saw that you had a ponytail eventually in my research. And you got 2 requests for that, actually. So I don't know if you want to if you want to show your long hair.
Yeah,
But
we're
you,
not on the missing link, so we're a little more casual here. But my my
yeah.
hair
Nice
is
long hair. Yeah, I rocked long hair for 30 years myself, and just cut it short one day, and just decided to be a short guy now. But it's all cool. I can totally relate. Did you ever play music, or you were just always just kind of like
well
spiritual, not a band thing?
um well I started off in grade 7. I went to guitar class, so I played a little bit of guitar, and then
Right.
I was in a marching band where I played the soprano trumpet. And then I ended up wanting to play drums, so I ended up doing the bass drum, but I had to carry this big giant bass drum for the Calgary Stampede parade for 5 straight hours, so I
Oh
didn't
my
want to play
God,
the bass drum anymore. So I
traumatic
went a little bit
experience.
to snare drum, and then I was a DJ. I DJ'd with vinyl on records. I threw lots
Cool.
of big parties. Like I said, I got paid to
You're a
party.
party
I
guy.
threw
Yeah,
lots of
yeah, yeah.
parties. And I even actually DJ'd on a radio station. Like I'm a dance hall reggae guy, right? So I
Right.
had that was what I DJ'd, was dance hall reggae. And I was
Mhm,
on a dance hall radio station doing some guest spots and stuff like that, right? So
mhm,
I but I never really had the long hair. My hair was always slicked back.
mhm.
I always had slicked back hair. That was, as we were like, gangster wannabes, and we had the slicked back hair, and I always had the suits and the ties. And remember, I was in 16, 17 years old in school with a tie on. People thought I was a
Right.
teacher when I went to the new schools and things, but that's how I was. But I never really had the long hair until just recently. And I know that hair is an energy. Like, we're very energetic. Everything is frequency and vibration. We're very energetic beings. Hair is actual energy receptors. And so, one reason why women are so intuitive, and even the native Indians would have the long hair, because of their intuition and their energy. They could perceive things a lot better with the long
Mhm.
hair. So
Right.
I've just been rocking long hair for the last like 3 years, or so. And that's what I've been at. So
Yeah, there was always an energetic thing with why I had long hair. It just felt right to me, and it was weird when I suddenly was like, no, I kind of like it short. It was very weird to me because it had been so long that I hadn't. I do want to go back to the High Vibe Love Tribe videos for a second, because I will say, like, as almost like as odd as I found it, I did find it. I was engaged, and I did find some of the things. I just kind of skimmed through it. You talked about the reason you were doing it, and just moving your body just to move the energy, and that we tend to sit in front of the computer and kind of get immersed in technology and let that take over, and even sit on the couch and watch a movie for 2 hours, which I don't really watch TV. I haven't in a long time. I do find myself guilty of that sometimes when I'm eating and I turn the TV on. Um, but it's so true, and I did find myself like moving a little bit with the videos and dancing. I was like, I should just put on some music for a little bit every day and dance, because you were talking about how it affected you. You noticed that from doing it every day, your mind was a little bit sharper, because you are doing that mind and body coordination movement stuff. It makes a lot of sense. It really does. I hope I'm not going to embarrass you here, but I'm just going to add this to
mhm.
the stream here. And this was what I found. It was all the way back to the early days, uh, where you were
So
just
this
going.
isn't the early days. So I wanted to
No, this
let you
isn't the
know.
early days.
So I wanted to let you know that this is maybe the last few months.
Oh, wow. Well,
So
this is 2 years ago. This is
right, but what happened was, and so this is what I want to get to, when the Truth Telethon, 5 days before we started the Truth Telethon. So I told her 13 days before, I said, me and you will put this thing on. We put it on in 13 days. We created from zero, we created this truth telethon into a successful, truth program that we put on. But 5 days before the date that it was going to be live, they deleted my Facebook account, my 13-year account, no rhyme or reason. They deleted me on Facebook. Maybe because we were putting this thing on, I have no idea. But 5 days before the Truth Telethon, so everything that I had ever put on, the first 10 months of the High Vibe Love Tribe, gone, deleted off of Facebook. So that's not the early. This is just the last few months that you were that you were able to find. Everything else is gone, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I created a second account on Facebook, and then they deleted that. Oh, so my first one that they deleted, no rhyme or reason, they just deleted me. And then they said, if you'd like to dispute this, you click this link. And I clicked the link, and it just circled and circled and circled. It did nothing. So I couldn't even dispute them deleting me. They just deleted me. I was gone. They didn't want that account. There was some stuff, maybe lots of the private conversations that they were having in Messenger about stuff that was happening to people that were sharing me pictures and evidence and lots of stuff. Who knows why they deleted what they did. We got caught for lots of copyright infringement with the High Vibe Love Tribe. So it could have been all the copyright violations that we did. I don't know why. They could have been the Truth Telethon. They just deleted me.
Were you advertising that you were going to do it and who the guests were going to be and stuff? Or
I think at the time we started advertising and we started getting some of the guests, and I think that started, that was part of what we were doing, to let people know that it was on. So then I created a second account, and then they deleted that one, and then I created a third account, and then they allowed, and that's the one that I'm still using now, is my third account on Facebook, and then they gave me my second account back. They needed me to put my IDs and pictures and all this kind of stuff, and I did that for my first account, and then they still deleted me. And then they did they didn't ask on the second one. I created the third one, and they put the IDs, and then they still gave me my second account back. So I still have my second account, which I just have it dormant. I just have it, in case anything happens.
In case you need it, right?
But I've gotten put into jail recently, like into Facebook jail for like the first real time, because like I watch what I say, I watch how I post. If I'm posting anything about the injection, I put a space in between so I don't put the word. I was been very careful because I know their algorithms. I'm quite intelligent, so I was always a step kind of ahead of them. So I've never really been in jail except for sharing too much, sharing to too many groups, and and obviously the copyright infringement, or those are the ones that I did get into trouble with. So I just leave that second account dormant. But when I did get into Facebook jail, like, I don't know, 6 months ago or whatever, I tried to open up my other account, and they have that account linked to me, and it doesn't matter. I couldn't post on that account either. So both accounts. So even though I had a backup account, so in order to go through that step, you probably have to set up an account at a library computer, different IP address with a different name. And, there's probably ways around it, but I just use my account. I don't go on any other name. I don't have an alias account. I don't have a fake profile. I don't do that. I'm just
I meant to put this up. Yeah, I meant to put this up earlier. This is where you can find the missing link on Facebook, at least, and then from there you can find it on YouTube and all the different places.
No. So YouTube.
Oh, right, you got kicked off YouTube, right?
2 YouTube channels we've been deleted, and we decided not to go back on YouTube because we're building up.
You could be found on YouTube. A lot of people post their interviews with you on their own channels. So when you do type Jesse Hal, you do get a lot of. There is some stuff there, but I couldn't find your own channel. You're right. There is.
No, three channels completely deleted, completely gone. We build up to thousands and thousands of subscribers. I think it was 100,000 hours watched on YouTube. Never got a cent from YouTube. 100,000 hours of our missing link interviews were watched. That's what the time was over. It was over 100,000 hours. And not one cent.
I can't, it's like you can't dispute these things, especially when they're happening to you, which I understand. And again, I mean, with the live stream, I really try to I try to stay on the light side of life and the things that bring light and raising the vibration. And I certainly understand that what you're doing isn't, there isn't any negative intent. You're trying to raise the vibration by spreading the information. Absolutely. Joseph is saying they took a page from us about, I don't even want to say it out loud. I don't know how the algorithms work, but the thing about that too, and again, I don't usually talk about that stuff, is it's around. You hear about Chester from Lincoln Park and Chris Cornell, and the people that were involved in those same issues, and all of a sudden they're dead, and all of these crazy things going on in the world. I wanted to address it. We're kind of almost at an hour already, but I wanted to address the connection between spirituality and consciousness and these theories, conspiracy theories, and because there is a lot of overlap. People who are opening their eyes to who we are as beings, right? 3D and 5D and light and meditation and all of those things are also opening their eyes to the systems that have been put in place that I think we've just been fooled. And again, I don't usually talk about my own beliefs, but I certainly do believe we've been raised to believe things that are created to control us. I think that's as kind of simple as I can put it.
Deception everywhere. Most things that people think that they know are true
Yeah,
are BS.
right,
And there's people that will defend their position on things because it's the facts and it's true,
right,
but it's complete BS. But
right,
they've just been so programmed from teaching this from, the Freemason indoctrination camps called schools, that they've, ever since they were a kid, they learned these things and they learned this is the way the world is. And it's hard to shake people from their foundation because they believe it to be true and factual so much that they would literally die for their position, defending slave masters, defending the system that's enslaving us. And it's crazy. That's called Stockholm syndrome.
yeah.
But there's lots of people that truly believe what they're talking, but it's not true.
Right. And it's interesting because I've been kind of saying this too, and in the spiritual community, I hate a lot of the terminologies that are used, but the whole idea of there's a veil that's going to be lifted, right? That all of a sudden we're going to realize that things are not what they seemed or what they were told we were told. And I'm actually starting to realize I don't think it's going to happen that way. I don't think it's going to all of a sudden be lifted. I think it's happening slowly through robots and AI and all of these things that are being integrated slowly into our lives right under our feet. Things that I enjoy, VR and the metaverse and all of those things, as intriguing and as exciting as they are, they're also a little bit scary because they do offer that kind of control to any sort of higher powers that are malevolent, and not benevolent powers. But I am a subscriber to duality, so I do believe that benevolence exists as much as malevolence, as much as all of this craziness that's going on. I believe there are forces on the side of good that are just as kind of I don't know, intricate, as the conspiracy theories.
Well, I'm a little bit different in that theory, and my theories are a little bit different than most. And I believe everything is yin. I don't
Mhm.
think there's a yin and a yang. I think
Mm,
everything is yin. I
mm,
think yang was created for people to justify their shitty behavior. I
mm,
think this dark, oh, there has to be dark, and in order to have light, you have to have dark. I don't
mhm.
subscribe to that. I believe
Really?
everything is light. I
Hmm.
think that they created dark to justify them being jackasses, to justify wars, to justify. They've created this theory that there's dark, there's these evil forces, there's just man is, inherently
Right,
bad.
right,
But
right,
I
right.
think it's just to justify them doing what they're doing to make themselves feel better about their shitty things that they're putting out into the collective.
Interesting. So I think that almost opens up a whole other conversation about dimensions and 5D and 3D and some of those things, because for me, my subscription, I do subscribe to duality. I do believe there's good and I do believe there's evil and that they exist simultaneously, but I believe that is specifically in the 3D realm. Like it's part of the limitations of a 3D existence is duality exists in 3D. And I think once you get to 5D, you're right. Everything is one. We're all one, right? It's that whole collective consciousness thing that we talked about way at the beginning of the show, that we're all one. And I think where we're all one in that realm, in that existence, whatever dimension that is, yeah, there is no evil. It is all one. So I do think we're on the same page, even though we may describe it a little bit differently. And I think that's what makes us similar, and that's what makes this platform so great. And also people who are willing to talk to each other and not at each other, you know what I mean, and listen to each other. And I mean, like you said a couple of things, and I was like, oh yeah, you know what, maybe I'm looking at things a little like the Christ thing and stuff like that. Like maybe Christ isn't religion, but Christ is more love, like, so certain things that we make each other think. And I like to believe that there's a good enough contingency of us out there, that we will continue to do this and use this platform. Again, I love your show, The Missing Link. I love the way you talk to people. I love the platform that you give people. You had Flat Earth Dave on your show recently.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Everything he was saying makes sense, and that's the crazy part about, I believe there's 4 different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
One are the ones who are fully indoctrinated and just believe the programming.
Mm-hmm.
2, the ones who are full of shit, who will convince you of things just because they want whatever, popularity, money, because they're deceivers, whatever there is, they're just full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is the ones that are doing this to us, a very small group, but they kind of know what's going on because they're privy to this information, whether they're just the Freemasons or the Illuminatis or the Jesuits, whoever, the ones who are actually kind of know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 4 is everybody else that are just trying to figure this out. Like it's, that's the majority of people. There's a lot of fence jumpers that will go from one side to the other, but most people don't really have a clue, but are trying or looking or searching or trying to figure
And
things
it's not
out.
an easy time, you know what I mean, with all of the information that's out there. There's as much misinformation out there, there's as many people out there who are fighting to censor what's being said as are fighting to say what they want to say, you know what I mean. So I had Flat Earth Dave on the show, and that was kind of where my show started going in a different direction, and I started to add more thoughts. And my purpose of having him on the show was, I was seeing your interview with him was great. You gave him some time, some space. You gave him a place to say what he wanted to without attacking him, and you were listening to him. But most of what I see, the people that are interviewing are just calling him an idiot, and I see him getting the crap beat out of him. And I can't wrap my head around flat Earth 100%, right? Because I still hold on to things I've been taught, but I do find common ground with Dave. I do believe that everything I've been taught is not true. You know what I mean? Not necessarily true. So that's why I wanted to have him on my show and have the conversation to show. And I actually asked him, what is consciousness? I asked him what his spiritual beliefs are, and he said he believes that we have a soul, and that is eternal. That's beyond the 3D. You know what I mean? But I guess we're here in 3D, so we got to pay attention to it and be wrapped up in it to some degree, right? As far as all of these conspiracy theories, because one of the things I always think about when I'm listening to your show, I'm like, but wait a second, this is all just a simulation anyway. This is all just a thought. This isn't even real. And then I just kind of like, all right, I'm like, probably too much cannabis.
Well, it's real while we're here, right? As much as, you can say this is a
Absolutely.
simulation, as long as you're living and breathing here on Earth, you're here in the 3rd dimension, you can
Absolutely.
want your consciousness to be as much 5D as possible. But if you still need to go to the grocery store and use your cash or your debit card or whatever, you're still living in the 3D world. If you're in a little island or in a little cabin in the forest where you grow your own food and you're living symbiotically with nature and you're not involved in the system, well, you can be in whatever dimension you want, because you're in a nice, beautiful, peaceful place. But
Right.
as long as you're in the system, you're still in the third dimension. You're
Right.
still having to, to do slave labor, to make
Right.
money, to do whatever you can to survive.
Right.
And that's real. You love people, you care about people. When people pass on, to from out of the third dimension, your heart sinks. You have these emotions when, when you hurt yourself, it hurts. I've got, bad hip joints, where it's bone on bone. I'm, constantly in pain. Like, that's real. Like,
Sorry to hear
that's
that.
not
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
assimilation. I feel
Right.
that pain when I
Right.
have a hard time picking something off on the floor. It's not assimilation. That's real pain that I'm feeling.
Right.
And
Right.
so a lot of people want to try to get out of, oh yeah, this is just the 3D. It's not real, but it is while we're here.
Right,
You know,
right. No, and I subscribe to both. I subscribe to both. I mean, I believe that, that there's this I am, there's this consciousness, right, that's observing everything. So I believe that that's kind of in a different place. There's, what, I got to have you back on the show, because we just barely scratched the surface. I think if you're interested, I would love to have you
yeah, of
back. I
course,
mean,
but I'm
we
not
did.
finished my story.
Sorry. I wasn't signing off yet. I was just getting excited. I mean, we haven't even talked about Mandela effect and all of that fun stuff. But
Yeah, I'll come back anytime. I don't
awesome.
get, some people ask me to be on their show and then they rarely ever follow through. I've had
Oh wow.
like 10 people ask me, and out of the 10, 2 people I think have
Oh,
had me
that's
on
weird.
their show. So it's a little bit strange. So I
I
actually
love
like
talking
the
to you. You're
opportunity
awesome.
because I don't talk a lot on my shows. Because
Listen, yeah.
I'm there to try to get other people talking. That's kind of
Right.
the point of, me being able to give people a platform, because most people just want to be heard. And in an era where there's so much censorship, there's so much clampdown. That's why it's easy for me to get all these, famous people or well-known people in the world, 30 doctors and all these people, David Icke and Del Bigtree and all these, because of censorship. They want to come on and be able to be heard by people, that, are all that want to hear these things. And I
Interested, right.
don't have the biggest, subscriber list. And like when I started, I had David Icke on episode 15, and I had a couple hundred subscribers when David Icke came on The Missing Link.
Right.
And so, but because of the censorship and the clampdown, he just wants to be heard. And like
Right.
with most people, but we don't limit to people with big, large subscribers, or, we just want to give a platform to anybody that really wants to share their knowledge, their thoughts on the world, and just want to be heard. But I just wanted to finish off with the missing link. So we did this truth telethon, and then the one person, the very crazy, person who asked me to do this truth telethon with her, very, who knows what her intentions are, but she goes around and she finds people and then she puts them against each other and starts
Mm.
talking behind the back. And so she's one of those, truther parasites, that
Instigator.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
really, well, she's trying to get people at each other. She's trying to break up the movement. So, who she's obviously not working on the right team. But at the time, I didn't know that. I just thought she was a little bit crazy, a little bit eccentric, crying because it's not going on. And, I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
calm down, calm down. We can do this. We can put this on. Me and you will do this. So then we had the second one that we had, and we think we did that in a 2-day split. We had, or maybe the first one was 2 days, 8 hours, 8 or 10 hours the first day, 8 or 10 hours the second day. And then we went and did, one where it was all together. And while we were on, she wanted to get on and talk to one of the guests. I don't know if it was Max Egan or somebody that was, she knew for a long time. And the other person, the guy in behind the scenes, he was like, no, you can't go in there. Jesse is handling this, that's his job or whatever. And she got all her panties up in a bunch and she split. She left us in the middle
Oh
of
wow.
our show. And then she
Holy moly.
came back to the stream yard, and I guess he saw her in the room and he wouldn't bring her back in, and she got all mad. And then all of a sudden she's been on a tear trying to tear me and my girlfriend apart spreading lies,
Oh
saying
man.
that we're this and that. She can't stop talking us 2 years later. She's still, we can't. She's obviously she doesn't want to let her out of her out of her mouth. Is we're just constantly, she's saying whatever, yada bloody yada yada. So before we had the second one, she had told me, well, why don't you bring Angeline with you and have her sit? And Angeline was busy all day long. And I think it was 8 o'clock at night. This weird stuff happened with her and him before this.
Mhm.
And then Angeline came and sat beside me for the last couple hours of the thing. She didn't really say anything, right? She was just there as support.
Right.
And as we talked to these people. Well, that was it. You put her in instead of me. You're trying to take over my show, and now it's her show, and
Oh
now
man.
we did this thing, and she's trying to blame me for whatever happened with him and her. And I didn't
Holy
even know
moly.
what was going on. I'm crazy doing this, all the interviews and here and there, and one person out, and because Angeline came and she wasn't allowed in, now it was a big conspiracy that we didn't want her there and we wanted Angeline there because, she kind of looks like a man and Angeline's so beautiful and maybe whatever.
It
Who knows
sounds a
what?
little unstable, you know?
Yeah, who knows whatever the craziness in her head was
Yeah.
like, the jealousy or whatever the cuckoo-ness,
She
and
wasn't
then
able to
she's been
handle it. Yeah.
yeah, she's been spending the last 2 years. She's been trying to destroy our credibility, trying to destroy our name. She's pulled people away. She's got people, I can't believe you would do that to her and steal her show and all this kind of things. And all I do is help people. People come to me and can you help me? And I do whatever I can to help people. This is who I am. This is what I've always been about. I've
Right.
helped some major people become very, very wealthy, and I've got screwed over with no contract, like taking companies to $1 million companies without a
Right.
contract, and then I get shafted, not even a cent remuneration for things that I've done to help people. But that's just who I am. I just keep
Right.
helping people. I love to help people because what
Right.
else am I here for? To
Well, I
hurt
think
people? No.
no, but I think you know it as well. That whole situation is a lesson for her and a lesson for you guys, and you learned what you needed to, I'm sure, and she's probably still learning it if she's still yapping out there about you. She's
Well, so
probably
then
still trying to learn it.
so we did a third one where he started a Third Truth telethon, and it was the toxin telethon. So we're going to all focus on toxins, radio frequencies, and then he started selling like little frequency badge because this is a network marketer. Little like these badges or whatever, those frequencies that you put on your phones, and
Right. The
he was
RFID.
selling all
Yeah.
these things and whatever. So we had her, but she was like, "That's it. I'm not part of it. I don't want to be a part of it. I want nothing to do with it." And she's the one who split. Right. So she
Right.
left us. Right. And then
Right.
after that, we never put one on. This was too much craziness and whatever. And then so me and Angeline were like, but after the first one that we had, everybody was like, wow, Jesse, you found your niche. You're really good at this. You should be doing this thing. Because I was dialoguing with people. I was like, I was, sometimes monologuing myself. They were just like, wow, this, like, you found your calling type of thing. And I was just like, oh, I actually really enjoyed this. I work really good under pressure.
Yeah.
When people not showing up and me having to text people in the middle and know some of my podcaster friends, hey man, we just had someone cancel. Can you fill this spot? And just this craziness. I like it. I love
it too.
pressure.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the things I related to with you too. It's like, I never expected to be doing this. I was always behind the scenes, and I was doing it for Jesse Blaze Snyder, who's D. Snyder's son. And he was doing a class on spirituality, and I was just producing it for him from behind the scenes. And when he was done, he's like, I really like this. I want to do it some more. Will you be my co-host? And he's so animated and has so much charisma that it was easy for me to step in. And all of a sudden I just absorbed that. And then he left, and I just started interviewing people, and everyone's like, you should be doing it. Like, this is good. Like, this is, and you know what it is? It's just authentic. It's just like, I really enjoy talking to people. I really enjoy making the connection. This has been an amazing conversation. I love watching your show because I can relate to that energy of connecting to people, and I started using the tagline, like, connecting the collective one soul at a time, like just each interview, because not only are you and I connecting right now, but you brought your audience, my audience is here, and everybody's connecting. They're all interacting, in the chat room, and it's all really good. I do want to bring up, somebody asked earlier, we were talking, we were talking about the simulation, the idea of a simulation. And Marsha says, am I trying to say that everything is just an illusion? I just want to kind of explain my perspective on the idea of a simulation. My idea on the simulation is that, thoughts, and this is kind of scientifically based, thoughts are electrical impulses that are happening, and we're perceiving inputs, right? So from our eyes, from our fingers, whatever senses, we're inputting these stimuli, and then we're having these thoughts and responding to them. So to me, uh, what it can stop there, right? And it could just be that. Why does it actually have to be this desk in front of me that I'm touching? I could just be thinking that I'm touching the desk, and that could be the thought, and the experience of it is happening in an electrical, energetic dimension, right? That's what I mean by that. So I'm not saying everything is illusion, and I don't mean to even start a conversation about it, but I just wanted to clarify kind of my thoughts. Like, I don't think it's a computer program, so much to speak, although I do believe that math is definitely an important basis of the universe in a lot of ways. And again, those are other discussions for complete other episodes, right?
Yeah, like the Fibonacci sequence, everything is mathematical equations, everything goes in patterns, and things are, it's pretty wild what we are living and experiencing. But for me, this is heaven. And the reason why I say
I've heard you
that
say
is
that, yeah.
I can't imagine something better than this place here, where we have free will, supposed to have free will, freedom to love, freedom to touch, freedom to explore, freedom to smell, freedom to feel, freedom to the emotions. I don't know the next place from here if we're going to have this type of freedom.
Right.
And even though there are people here that want to take our freedoms away and want to control us and make us into slaves and have to work, this still is pretty amazing place. Like,
I gotta say, I think that's what resonates with me about you, is that that's what makes you such a loving person. So even though you have all of these beliefs and thoughts about the evil stuff that's going on, you still know that you have the choice to be loving or not be loving. And you know that you choose to be loving, and that is what gives you your own peace. You're like, I am what I'm putting out into this world. You know what I mean? And just that awareness is so important. And to me, that's kind of part of what consciousness is, right? Being aware of what you're putting out into the world. Everything is an energetic exchange. This conversation we're having is an energetic exchange, and we're offering to each other this amazing energy, which is why this conversation is so great. You know what I mean? We could be arguing, and I could be like, you're an idiot, and it would be, it would have that energy to the conversation. It would feel totally different.
probably
So
have a lot more viewers if it
I
seems
know,
like
right?
seems like when you put that energy out there. And when I get, like, if sometimes I like, I'm a Scorpio and I'm born on
Me
the
too.
last day of the Scorpio Libra cusp, so
Wait, whoa, whoa,
supposedly
whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you saying your birthday's October 23rd?
no, 26th. So that's the
26th?
first, yeah, that's the first day of Scorpio, but the last day of the Scorpio Libra cusp. So there's, I believe there's 3 days before. I think it's October 20th is the first part. That's the Libra Scorpio cusp. I'm
I
on the
see.
last day. So I'm on the October 26th.
I'm October
And
23rd.
and so actually my best friend who passed away, and I had to move back from Cancun. I told him I'd look out for his family if anything ever happened to him. So I helped raise his 3 kids.
Wow.
I left I was the ultimate bachelor living in Cancun, making, crazy amounts of money to party and have fun. But I decided to leave Cancun, and I came back to Canada to help raise my buddy's 3 kids,
Wow. That's so honorable.
and so I promised him if anything ever happened to him. But his birthday was October 23rd, and
Wow.
so and we had other friends, October 24th, October 25th, and then another one October
Oh, in that
27th.
cusp.
So
Wow.
that was the week, that was party week. Like that was literally, we took the whole week off for years and years and years, because the whole week every night was a party. And that's when I still drank. Like I stopped drinking 9 years ago. I stopped
Mhm.
smoking cigarettes 8 years ago. I stopped all synthetic drugs 7.5 years ago. I mean, 8.5 years ago. And then I
Mhm.
stopped eating meat. It's coming up on 5 years in January. Will be I stopped eating meat. So I've done all these things to better myself,
Mhm.
and then with all the stuff that I've known and learned, I'm able to focus on connecting with people and teaching people, and really connecting into consciousness more than when I was inebriated. When,
Right.
even though I knew these things and wanted to do these things and wanted to help these people, all of a sudden the next person comes over with a case of beer, and now I'm partying for the next
Wasted,
36
right.
hours straight.
Right.
And like, who's thinking about saving the world when you're, all intoxicated and inebriated, and things like that. So drugs and alcohol took me away from my mission for quite a few years, but one of the best decisions I ever made was 9 years ago, was to stop drinking alcohol.
Mhm.
And my life has become significantly better ever since.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, you again, from the minute I somehow tripped over your show and started watching you, the first response I had was, "What the heck is going on?" Because you, like you said, you don't talk a lot, so you're just like staring, and your guest is talking, and I'm like, "This guy, what's going on here?" But there was such an amazing vibration and authenticity to it that I stayed engaged, and I became a fan. So I appreciate it. I'm gonna kind of use this moment. I just realized, like, I should probably pitch my own show to your users who are here watching you. The live stream of consciousness is very similar, in it's a platform for people to have a conversation that is usually pretty interesting, and then other people to be there, and everybody contributes energy. So I started saying earlier that this conversation is an energy exchange between Jesse and me, but it's also an energy exchange between us and you guys. And you guys are giving us your energy by commenting and being there, and intently listening, or not intently listening. I find even when I get hecklers on here, it adds to the energy. It's like, hey man, you're here, so you can say all the shit you want, but you're hanging out and you're finding the need to get involved. You know what I mean? So I'm very similar to you. I try to find the light in every situation, that you can, because it's a choice, right?
Couple of years ago, when maybe it was like 2.5 or 3 years ago, and I started doing more live streams and things, and they had troll groups where they just go and troll live streamers at that time. Like they had actual little troll groups, and then
Wow.
10 people would show up and start saying weird things and all that. And I remember the troll group came to one of my live streams, and I was just so nice to all of them. They were like, they were like, "Yo, man, you're way too nice for us to be here." And they never bothered me
It's
again.
so
They
funny.
left, and I could
Yeah.
see them doing these things. They would say, talk about couches, and hey, you want to buy a couch, and who's got that couch for sale? Like they do these weird things, and they talk all these weird things. They came for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then they just were nice, and they were
They're
like,
like,
"Man,
oh,
you're way
it's
too
all
nice."
it's energy, man. You have it's your energy. You have a good energy. I the same thing happened with Flat Earth Dave. A couple of his guys were like, "Wow, this guy Mike ain't so bad," and they subscribed to my channel. So I got a couple subscribers from Flat Earth Dave. That was kind of cool.
So where are we live right now? We're live just on Facebook?
We're on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel for Live Stream of Consciousness, so it's just all episodes of the Live Stream of Consciousness. And then Facebook, there's a Live Stream of Consciousness page that has all the live episodes, and on my personal page, we're live. So I'm going three places right now, live, and then usually take the episodes, and I've been going to Anchor to put them on podcasts, so they go to like Amazon Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And surprisingly enough, like, I don't even advertise that stuff, but people listen to the episodes. And again, I think it's the place that we're at in humanity, and the platform itself has really become something, as a way to unite people rather than to divide. And that's what I love about it. It's like, wow, this same platform that was a battlefield a couple of years ago is really now a place where people can create communities. You know what I mean? Like your missing link community. It's just such a great place. And I see Venus at Starshine saying she will subscribe. Yay!
Yeah,
We have a
definitely.
successful night. I got a new subscriber.
Well, see,
Um,
and a lot of the people of the, that we built at the High Vibe Love Tribe, when we decided, no more the, truth or telethons. And then, we had a whole bunch of people that we interviewed. We had a whole bunch of contacts. And then me and my girlfriend were like, well, let's create this show. And I wanted to do this business with this guy called The Missing Link before. So I had The Missing Link in my head. And then Angeline came up with the acronym for LINK, and it's love inspiring new knowledge. And
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
it's like the perfect acronym for, and she's behind the scenes sharing things out. She makes all the promo ads,
Awesome.
all the digital stuff. So it's, us, where it's, we are both, putting this together. But the missing link is just finding missing links about the world that, or people that we want to know. So it's,
Connecting everybody. Yeah.
I'm not the missing link. The missing
Right.
link is a life of its own,
Sure.
right? And the missing link is just whatever missing links, that people need to learn. And we interview everybody from every walk of life, and it doesn't matter.
Great.
And like, I want to interview, Dr. Frauci. I want to interview. I've sent an
I
invitation to
listen,
him.
I'm with you, man. I would love to have Russell Brand on my show. You know what I mean? Like, and it's really interesting. I noticed that your branding colors were very similar to my branding colors. This kind of dark blue and purple and dark, and now Russell Brand, his new branding on Rumble is also the similar color scheme. So we're on to something, Jesse. I think we're connected to some sort of vibe.
Well, purple's my favorite color, and I actually reached out to Russell Brand maybe like 8 months ago, and his team got back to me and said that, they're not interested at this time or whatever, right? But, at the time we got like, 1,000 subscribers, and they've got 300,000. So that's the shocking part for me, was that a lot of people that have decided to come on to the missing link,
Mhm.
are people that have, big subscriber lists, of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Like Lee Camp. I used to watch Lee Camp. He's a political comedian. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but I've been watching his stuff for about 10 years. And he used to get 3, 4, 500,000 views on all
Right.
of his videos. And he was interview number 7 when we just started the missing link, and we just started, and I just reached out to him, and hey, I'd love to interview you on my show. And like I said, but at the time he was very, very censored. And
Right.
so he was only getting 2,000 views when he was getting 500,000 before. And,
Yep.
so for him to go on other platforms to reach more people is,
Right.
I
Help them. Yeah.
could see why,
Right.
people would want to go on these alternative platforms. But I've had somebody, I'm not sure if what's his name? He actually did a hit piece on me. So, well, it wasn't on me. It was called The Luciferian Agenda.
Okay.
And he's this, I don't know, kind of religious guy or whatever. And he was talking about all these doctors who are speaking out against the agenda, and they're with the Trump and the vaccine, and they're all Luciferians. They believe in transcendental meditation, and he's doing all these things, like, and it was like, it's a 2-hour long video, or maybe like an hour and 15 minutes long video. And then he all of a sudden he says, and who is this Jesse Hal guy? He seems to be interviewing all of these people. Is he some kind of content creator for this Luciferian agenda? And he's got no subscribers, but he seems to be interviewing all of these big names and doctors. And
Yeah.
but he failed to mention at the time we had 9 or 10,000 subscribers on Facebook. So that's
Right.
not no subscribers, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
These other channels, and he's supposed to be some researcher, but he wanted to make it look like we had no subscribers,
Right.
and we're just interviewing all these names. And he actually showed the missing link, and people were saying, take that as a compliment.
Yeah,
He's giving you
totally.
free
He gave
publicity.
you free. I agree with that. I agree with that. And that's another thing that I love about this platform, and I admire about what you're doing. It does, like, suddenly I realize, like, it started for me. I have a lot of really close friends who are spiritual psychic mediums and Akashic records readers. They do past lives, and so I went through all of my friends, and then I realized I can actually reach out to people who I admire and ask them to be on the show. So there was this whole manifesting intention thing happening, and it's so great. And I see that happening with you. I got a chance to interview Tommy Chong, which was so amazing. And then one of my listeners, Jill, suggested she saw Lori Ladd, who is a current author, very popular, wrote an amazing book called The Divine Design, and she was just like blowing up on Instagram, hundreds of thousands of followers. And I just reached out to her, and she was on my show, and we had such a great conversation. I started reading her book. I don't even really read much, and I started reading her book, and I felt the energy in the book. It was amazing. So yeah, this platform is awesome. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. Now that you're talking about it, I mean, you have a ton of followers, and all I did was ask you to come on, and you did. And I don't have that many followers, but I do have an authentic show, and I do resonate with you. So I'm glad you gave me the chance to talk to you. I hope you resonated back, and felt like this was worth your while.
100%. I like your energy, and I'm glad that I've got to know you better now.
Awesome.
I'm super busy, so I didn't get a chance to do much research into you, and you just asked me, and I just said sure.
Yeah,
And so I didn't know too much about you. I knew I seen you pop up here and there on the missing link and stuff,
Yeah.
and I knew that if you were popping up onto the missing link, then you're worthy of having a conversation with and stuff.
Cool.
And so that's all I knew. But now I know more about you, and I can feel people's energies a lot, right? I'm very empathetic that way. So I see that we're in quite an alignment, when it comes to energy. So, we got a new friend here.
Awesome. Well, stay backstage when I put you there, and we'll talk after I sign off. But before I do that, wow, we're at 10:30. Before I do that, do you have any words of wisdom to impart to my viewers and your viewers who are all here cheering you on?
Words of wisdom. So this is a long and, sometimes hard road. There's a lot of craziness. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of things that people are putting into collective. You can't always control what people say. You can't always comprehend what people are doing, but you can control how you respond to things. And you just want to make sure that you're responding the best you can so you can be proud of yourself. It may not always work favorable, to you, but as long as you're true to yourself, that's all that matters, and you will get through. The universe will protect you, will flow through. Life is eternal, so there isn't anything to be afraid about, because this is just a stopping ground. After this, there's more. So don't be afraid. Do what you want to do while you're here. Speak up, stand out. Right now, we need people coming together more than ever, and just have love as your base. Because if you can start loving everyone and everything, then the whole collective
Raise the
consciousness,
vibration.
we raise the vibrations, and the more it feels, it ripples, it impacts, and the more love that we have, the less power they have, and the more utopic it will become. And that's the ultimate goal for me, is not only to cure world hunger or stop world hunger, it is for us to become into a utopia, like it's supposed to be, heaven on earth. And that's what I want to bring back here.
Awesome. And I will say, with no religious context, amen to that.
Amen. And I say, like, when we would do the high vibe love tribes, I'd say namaste and amen. So
That's
I
right.
would say the both. So,
My
and
greeting,
like,
my greeting is usually, I usually say peace. That's usually my greeting. Well, thanks again, Jesse. Thank you for your wisdom. I'm going to put you backstage for a second. I'm going to sign off, but hang back there for a minute, because I do want to talk to you. And I'm glad that I found a new friend.
sounds good. Thanks, Michael. And may the
Talk to you
source
soon.
be with you.
Yes. Awesome. Oh my God. Wow. That was amazing. I love it. I love this platform. I love the fact that people are out there listening to me and Jesse, or whoever is here with me, talking and just kind of putting our energy out there, and I appreciate everybody's energy. You guys all brought some really good energy here tonight. Hopefully you guys will be back. If you're just here for the first time, subscribe to the YouTube channel or find me on Facebook. And next week I have an amazing guest, David Lionheart, who has a TED Talk. He's very philanthropic. You'll find out all about him. I just have him next week. So come back next week, and I will see you then. Peace.